That Sora stage down around Sarah Toma Mebane, Tatibadu, Nyamaba, Dungaki Jude, Koi, knowledge, Dungar, Nazepaji also send you at the lady Yemba Moki Vatigene, the Tepa Mugigene, the Lamala son the cheese on what and the cheese.
One have to realize that oneself, how wandering in this samsara with the 5 poisons from beginningless time, and then experiencing all sorts of suffering in the samsara. So now to liberate from the suffering of samsara, then one need to have single-pointed devotion, and with that supplicate to the Guru, through which one can receive the blessing and one can be liberated out of those suffering.
Jarbo, intrabode, tembe legendaji chisung, tene kato chembo gure sung, tene sung, then Jarbo tonde, chassit tonde chembo jidong, kor zombodo lambo, jachembo jiavalatene, Jarbesin. Numi Nasar Tinone, watch a little to know Dragon Semid. There, Tantiponi got to the name of the Sonjeliaki.
So then, during the Shakyamuni Buddha's time, that Buddha taught all this cause and effect of karma, extensive teaching to King Indrabodhi. And then, of course, the King Indrabodhi is very powerful, and with all this governing of the kingdom, surrounded by all these queens and wealth and prosperity and so forth. So the king mentioned to Buddha that even I may born as a kind of a wolf in the just forest, I don't mind, but I don't want to abandon all this desirable wealth and just to engage into the practice. So that way, the Shakyamuni Buddha, the enlightened mind, instantly anyway just know the King Indrabodhi's mind stream, that how he need to enter into the secret mantrayana practices.
Sanjay Lansam, Barkaji Chengor Chembo Kashi, didn't call it one touch somebody's.
And then Buddha instantly just opened the 8 Heruka deity mandala, and then given these teachings and empowerments.
What they said, one Tomara actually, that's what you mean, Dino, what it lines now, Cheva Medukunda and Bon to some other heroes. One suddenly, they told about Tante Journey. Todo Dina Indrabodhi one Toba to draw Dina to Sone, the Salam Tembu Kovon Tosomares.
So then, as the King Indrabodhi received this empowerment, then of course he have all this realization. Of course, in the beginning he even mentioned that even he born as a wolf in these forests, he would not mind. But as the empowerment is completed, then he instantly have all this realization and recognition of that true nature. That the moment he have realization, he already liberated. So in that way, he got into these high stages of realization.
Sanjiji Tuji Laudon, Koronji Teba Mugu, Le Tobala Tene, Toto Dino Endrabodhi the Shumaris.
So that because of the Buddha's great compassion and blessing, and at the same time the king's devotion and faith towards the teaching and so forth, and also just one who has the purification of karma, and that is how all those connections can happen, as like in the moment have realization completely liberated.
Mi kosong tu yan den tile nang le wongi so so len lami de tu yi se nende sheba de lam chap to man ra jire ni yoris.
So similar in that way, here our Guru Yoga practice, that where there is the supplication and then the that receiving the four empowerments, and then mingling one's mind stream with the Guru's mind stream, within that practice itself, there is a complete path. So as we were just doing this Guru Yoga practice over and over, and then receiving these four empowerments, and then mingling one's mind stream with the Guru's mind stream, and in that way one concentrate into these practices, that naturally one can receive the blessing.
Namo Jagane Varanasi
long time back in India, that Varanasi area, there is an old lady that she's just kind of visualizing herself as a tiger. And then as she concentrated on that visualization as a tiger for a long time, then later that everybody could really perceive her as a tiger, that all the village people, they were get so scared, and that the whole area just become empty. So in that way, this our mind, if we kind of concentrate and go through all this visualization properly in a continuous way, of course anything can be accomplished. So we all are just doing this Dharma practice, that wishing to be liberated from the suffering of cyclic existence, and for that then we need to train our mind properly with the sense of devotion and pure perception, inclination, and also having a very stable and devoted mind. If we truly contemplate on the sufferings of the sentient being in the samsara, then it is just actually there is so much suffering that which is really unbearable. So right now we are somehow, we know this suffering, but we don't really try to experience that suffering in our kind of being. So that is why we are kind of taking it easy and kind of neglecting in that way. Otherwise, if we just look carefully, these sufferings are really unbearable.
Shatan the wrong so Darne Udit no Chea Marecon in the zone, don't Nasak Zelomena, the Shung Eros, Inang tell Sanotan Kogmars.
So, for instance, like certain animal that just when they got killed, then of course just however they catch that animal and then take to the butcher place, and then sometimes of course they just kill, but somehow before the actual death happens to the animal, they just take off the skins and then started cutting into pieces, and that even the kind of body is just trembling with so much pain and suffering, and we don't really just concentrate or try to experience those kind of suffering. And if we truly contemplate that it is kind of unbearable pain. So, but still, we those who have a little bit of compassion, and then one just think and say, oh no, I'll not eat meat. But it is a very tiny sense of that imagination. So as we kind of look into it, like those animals, like countless of them just kind of die or being killed in that way.
This is sentient Suleno Nije Yone Yondugon laying and we drive out Tobarkos and Monotajuring as a Kitcharis.
So that is why, just all the time we, try to generate compassion to all those beings, and also we try to do all this aspiration prayer that their karma may be get, purified.
Shamazana Yabore Shasana, Sanjatan Nidise, the only Mano Yabotaji, the Kitchi there is.
So, of course, if one doesn't eat the meat, it's good. But even, one eat the meat, then also do all these prayers and aspiration prayers and practice, and then, kind of eat it with the compassion. Still, it is also beneficial. So, as we know, there are all these, big animals, and then in certain part there are all these tiny insects. So even just as we walk and kind of, run, of course, and in depending upon kind of our disciplines, how much kind of invisible insects maybe just got killed. So the sense of the element of beings, the sentient beings, that it is kind of actually inexpressible. And for example, like one glass of water, there is also like one glass of sentient beings. So, of course, what we perceive is all those big, these coarse animals, but in the space, there are so many tiny insects that which even we could not see. For like example, these vegetables, we think, oh, there is no any negative, and we consider something good. And every leaves are just kind of like pervasive with the, all these kind of insects.
Loma pan no that they should know it, but the hero remember them, Loma chasing the Toma Mutti, sending Congress.
So those leaves, when it get dry, then those insects also just die. Other than that, it is also just kind of purposive with the insects.
Yes, Maronto, Rosa and Lusa Shalom, Method, no, Loma, Tonti, sending Macha,
So in that way, where we walk or where we sit and all these vegetables, leaves, flowers, that just every corners of the, kind of places, there are, just sentient beings. Like even within this our body, there are like about 84,000 kind of, insects.
Oh, then they said, sent content on it. That's a long again.
So in that way, of course, those, just the insects and so forth, they also do just kind of, die in relation with our actions.
Oh, then I turned the Hindu, the Nasa Susan, also Mitty, Nasa Susan, Ganga Cafe, they know it is a direct.
So like when, a human being, when we die, of course there are certain kind of, pains and suffering and fear, similar like that. Each and every individual sentient beings, when they die, they also go through same kind of, pain and suffering.
They no catch us singing, so these are Tonti Line or Tonti's lady developed on the home medicine. Tatu Sonji go on Rinpoche Tobrasiva, taking it, yawning on the man of that. Then man and that, then on the man of that education.
So that is how, it is said that wherever the space is pervasive, there is the pervasive of, sentient beings. So knowing and understanding that how they are just, suffering, and according to that one do all these aspiration prayers. And then, of course, if one have time to do, accumulate all this mantra and other practices, then one can just do and dedicate for them.
Chubadi say, they go some shower, Tonti, Hiki Tora, share the kitchen.
So we all somehow consider ourselves as a Dharma practitioner. So that is why it is important to just do all our kind of, body, speech, mind activities in accordance with the Dharma in a very peaceful and tamed way.
Patadi Hiki Tora, send on the Yamamba, Tadum Mombogiana, let the hit Torati Maris.
And then externally, how it appears, kind of like a peaceful and a humble, tamed, but still, if your mind is constantly getting afflicted with all those, negative emotions, then still it is not really tamed. So out of this, our body, speech, mind, that mind is still more important.
Miti yella she no tomare he tomare she sembo tomare nyoda hendur rongi rong le taseni rongi rong nyamoba padmeba sete kechi ateres. So
before we even could do just kind of complain to somebody that, oh, you are just way of kind of discipline, way of talking and way of behavior is not right. Just before that, one should to look to oneself and try to pacify one's own afflictive emotions. In all the time and aspect, that watching one's body, speech, mind, and try to just kind of train oneself in a very positive way, it is really important.
You attend a theatre, not kept by not just a chamber drawing us.
And even we have, tiny bit of knowledge, then instantly one think that, oh, I'm a great scholar. That way, how we easily develop those pride.
Zudong, top temperature, not chamber in my aboy, or dang it.
And also just kind of, form and the, kind of huge body and, that power and strength. Then one think that, oh, I'm something just good. And even just, we know how to walk kind of nicely and dress up, properly. And then one feel like, oh, I have just kind of, nice dress and so forth. We think in that way. Those are all also kind of generated with the afflictive emotion. So one should not just kind of, follow in that way. Even just, one today have this kind of robe, nice robe, then think, oh, today I have my nice robe on myself. That is also kind of like influenced by the, pride. So our main responsibility is, all the time how we try to subdue the afflictive emotions. Even we have a good mustache, one may think that, oh, I have a nice mustache. So this, our thoughts, kind of just in instantly how all these kind of thoughts just get changed. So all the time just kind of examining one's mind, and from that, just small level, one try to just correct them. So just, like, don't do that way, these big things we just try to take care, and then tiny things in relation with all this kind of very subtle level of thoughts, not just, being taken care.
Thank you. That
So right now, for the Ngondu students have teachings on the bodhicitta, and so rest of you all can just go back to your places to continue with your practice. And then at 2 p.m. There will be the Bodhisattva ceremony.
Oh yeah, thank you.